Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Night Live, your favorite automotive show where we talk about the issues that affect the customer experience at your store. Because the better the experience, the more they come back to you for everything they need when they need it. And I am very fortunate to have a great bunch of connections and friends that come on the show weekly to share with you what they do or what they've done to improve the customer experience at their stores. So these are actionable items that you can use tomorrow to improve things. And this week is no exception. I've got my good friend John Frazier. And we also have with us these two gentlemen, the stars of tonight's show. We have Ryker Salazar and Luis Cordova. Welcome, gentlemen. All right, before we get started, why don't each of you introduce yourselves, give us a little background about how long you've been automotive and what inspired you to get to this point.
John Frazier got into the automotive industry 18 years ago as a service advisor following door-to-door vacuum cleaner sales. Worked in that capacity for about 7 years, moved on to service and then parts management. Most recently, moved to Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. I'm the fixed operations director for BMW, Volvo, and CDJR of Louisville. Our parent company has 11 stores here in the area and is a much larger company. The reason I'm in this now, I'm just really attracted to the business because it's something so much bigger than myself and lets me make quite the impact on people's lives day in and day out.
Next up, we have Luis or Ryker.
I'm Ryker Salazar. I got in the business about 7 years ago, and it kind of started off just as a job. I started as a lube tech, and then quickly got hooked on it. You're just helping people every day and get to work with a bunch of exciting people. I worked my way up from lube to mainline to shop foreman. Now John gave me the chance to be a service director. So the thing I enjoy most about it though is you just get to help people every single day. And I really just got hooked on the business. It's exciting, it's fun, and every day changes.
How long have you been in it, Ryker?
7 years, all with Chrysler.
Wow, 7 years. At the 5-year mark, did you sit there and say, wow, I can't believe I've been here 5 years now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Luis, you're up, man. Tell us about your story.
Luis Cordova. I've been doing this for around 7 years too. I started as an apprentice right away. I don't know how to do tires or oil changes, just fix cars basically. I just really liked that every single day was something different. You were not doing the same thing over and over, and I see it as a good career. So I say, well, might as well learn as much as I can and see what I can do with it. And thankfully, this job has been really good for me, and I've been enjoying every single step of it. I've been a tech for the last 5 years, probably 6 years maybe, and give me an opportunity to be a foreman here. So here we are in Kentucky.
That's great. Well, welcome to the show, gentlemen. I just want to give a quick disclaimer here. There has been some issue between LinkedIn and StreamYard. I think it's more on the LinkedIn side because when you tune in via YouTube or Facebook, it doesn't seem to hide people. There are sometimes comments that are made that we don't see on the platform live, but then after the show is over, then they all just mysteriously show up. Sometimes it affects 3 or 4 people. So if we don't respond to you, we do apologize. Send either of us a text if you have our numbers, and we'll be happy to address any comments that you have. And speaking of comments, we start off tonight with Nathan Williams. Can't wait to see and hear tonight's automotive goodies. And Robert Allen Carvel from Hotlanta says hello from Georgia. And we have Craig Tomazik. See, the glitch is on the platform, it shows LinkedIn user. On my phone, it shows Craig Tomazik. So he says, evening, folks, welcome. And my friend Roger Conant from Houston. Good evening from Houston. Right, so John, we've been friends for 5 or 6 years now, something like that. And we've had many, many great automotive conversations, some live and in person at events, other times where we met up for some killer gourmet food. And I lost track how many hours we've spent on the phone, at all kinds of crazy hours. So when you embarked upon this opportunity, and this is a wonderful opportunity you have, anytime you walk through a new set of doors, there are unique challenges that new opportunity brings. I'd love to find out a little bit, or I'd love for our audience to find out a little bit about kind of what you walked into and what steps you've taken to kind of change things up a little bit.
Most definitely. Anytime you take on something new, there's a lot of new opportunities, new challenges, new problems, whatever you want to call it. And some of the things you do are very much the same in every step. You got to get a handle on the books. When it comes to a service department, what's your open RO list look like? What's your schedules look like? How's the accounting? So you want to find all those skeletons and get them out real quick. I think for me, the first and most important task is finding out who's on your team. And, when I came into these 3 stores, and they each have some areas, like we all do, we all have some areas that we can improve and perform better in. Our Dodge store was probably the one with the most opportunity. It had been lacking in many areas from a customer experience standpoint, from process and procedure, from fixed first visit. There was a fire burning in every area of that store. So it's crucial that you find out who's going to be on the team and who's going to help you put these fires out. And my dilemma here is that I went on for probably a couple of months, a good 2 months, with the majority of the team that was there not on my team. They just simply weren't interested in shifting how we do business there.
When you said who's on your team, I was gonna elaborate on that. Who's on your team is not who's on the payroll or who's employed by the company. Who's on your team are the people that understand the job, and they do it not just as a job, they do it because it's what they do, right? It's everybody pulling the rope in the same direction. And that's sometimes tough because you walk into a place where you're the new guy. There may be some people that have been there a long time. They're complacent. They feel secure in the fact that they've been able to do really whatever they want to do without much accountability or somebody holding their feet to the fire, and they haven't had the need or desire to change for the better. Now, with you coming in, you're coming in with a specific mission in mind, okay? Changes aren't made necessarily because everything's great. Sometimes changes need to be made because, there are a lot of stores that, you look at them from the outside and you're thinking, wow, that place is a palace. And you think that, everything's hunky-dory and everything's great, but some of these stores are actually losing money, So when changes have to happen, all of the employees don't necessarily understand, or realize that, hey, we can't keep going down this same road for any length of time. So you got to make decisions when you say who's on your team or who's going to be on your team. Sometimes you have to make some difficult decisions that others have not been willing to make. Have you had some of that?
That was a lot of it because we came into a store that, the service and the parts department, fixed ops is simply just not profitable.
Yeah.
And a lot of, they were not dotting I's and crossing the T's, a lot of exposure for the dealership from a procedural standpoint, paperwork standpoint, and trying to get the people that were there on my team to get them going in the same direction. I would explain these things to them. And it became pretty clear that there was not much care about, moving it forward. There was a lot of people there hired out of desperation and given guarantees with no requirement of performance, and it was dead. Yeah. they could fog a mirror and they had a pulse. That was about it. We struggled in every area. I mean, parts, the shop, the drive, and so it became clear that the only way we were going to move forward is to remove the people, as Nick Saban said, get the people off the bus that aren't on the team. Figure out who it is, get them off the bus.
Yeah.
And during this, we didn't have a warranty administrator. We still don't have one. I mean, Ryker and I kind of tackle that now, but I was doing all the warranty. I was managing, moving all the pieces around to the puzzle, doing the internal advising, a lot of wearing several hats amongst managing the other stores to get this thing moving. And now we, with no fear of rocking the boat, which I think a lot of people have fear of rocking the boat. We've turned over every employee, less one technician. So every employee in our parts department, on our service drive, and in the shop are brand new, and more importantly, they're on our team. They saw. I mean, it got pretty bleak before Luis and Ryker came, because I went middle of July. I felt this like impending doom. Like I was going to call the dealer and say, "Hey, I don't know about this, buddy." But I mean, I was down to like 2 technicians in the shop, 2 advisors on the drive, 1 guy in parts. But I knew that I had some people in the pipeline, and middle of August, Ryker and Luis show up. A few other technicians show up. We get parts department in order. And now we have this team that is really just geared up to go with us in the right direction.
Now, to those out there, let me get to a couple of comments, and I want to follow up on that. Robert Allen Carvel says, what everybody knows, John is the best at extracting the best out of his employees. I second, third, and fourth that. And we have our friend Lamont Harris. Good evening, fellas. Paul and John, 2 of the best in our business. Paul, where are we eating after the show? I got off the plane in Hartford, an hour from my home. Some random dude. I'm waiting for my bag. He says, "So where are we dining tonight, Paul?" No idea who the guy was. Lamont Harris says, we signed up with WarCloud to process our warranty. Great company. I agree. That company's been around for a little while. So to those out there, you are in this same situation oftentimes where you have, you're struggling for employees. You don't want to rock the boat. You're afraid that if you let them go, you have no one. But you can't operate your store from fear, right? John has been the guy on more than one occasion where he is in a skeleton crew like that, but he knows the mission, and he's not afraid to remove the cancer, because if you want to heal, if you want the body to heal and you have a cancer, you have to cut that shit out if you want to grow, all right? Now, everybody cries about technicians. We can't get them. We can't get any kind of employee. But these 2 gentlemen, it's not like they were living and working down the street, all right? You and a lot of us, we spend way too much time on LinkedIn and other business networking sites to build relationships, friendships, and to cultivate a team, right? For you guys to, and I had it wrong in the post, I put 20 hours. You guys sent 27 hours. 2 guys in a truck with toolboxes in tow to go on to another opportunity. I want to hear that story, man, because for me, 27 hours is about 5 stops for food. That's number 1. Just go to another place, that it's another world. Tell us about that, man. That's crazy.
Say first, but before Ryker tells you about this journey, that the power of networking is so huge, because Ryker and I connected a few years ago on LinkedIn. I don't know, somehow you came across my contact. I don't know. And he was asking me questions, and never at that point did I think I never thought I'd be in Kentucky, but nor did I think
Neither do we.
this guy would drag their boxes across the country to come help me flip this store around, because he believed enough in the process and the vision that we had there. So yeah. So tell us about this trip.
Yeah, so I mean, we spent the last couple of years in just bad environments and always trying to bring up the culture, and just nothing. No one's willing to do like cut the cancer out. And John's calling. He's like, "I need you in Louisville right now." And I was like, "I haven't even seen the city yet. I don't even know what's going." He's like, "No, can you start like next week?" I'm like, we haven't even met in person yet, you know. So I'm like, all right. So we fly out there, check it out. We're like. Then he called. As soon as I land, he's like, "You think you can start Monday?" I was like, "Whoa!" You know. So then we were going back and forth. I asked Luis, I'm like, "We gotta go to Kentucky." He's like, "What do you mean we gotta go to Kentucky?" Like, I was like, "We just gotta go. Like, that's what's happening." So we think about it, make it happen. I think 3 weeks after the visit, 2 weeks after the visit, load up my truck, load up all of our boxes, probably 100 grand plus in tools, throw them on the car trailer, probably leave 5:30, 6 in the morning. It said it was like going to be like a 20-hour trip, but like with stops and driving a trailer and all that kind of stuff, and the time change and all this, it ended up being like 27 hours or something like that. And we just gear up, have no idea what we're getting into. He hasn't even been to Louisville yet.
I haven't even met Luis. I didn't even know this guy.
They didn't even know each other. You know,
Wow.
Luis never even stepped foot in Kentucky or half the states that we drove through, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we're West Coast guys, so we hadn't even been out here. And we just go, we embark on it. And I mean, at first it was fun. First it was like, yeah, cool, we're making out of Arizona.
For the first 2 hours.
For the first 2 hours, it was like, we have like 25 hours left, man. And, you know, we're going through lots of strap checks and almost flipping the boxes off the trailer and all that good stuff. And all just for believing in something. We were just chasing process and culture and doing things the right way, and really trying to like build something that we believed in. But I mean, we start sending it and going through New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Mississippi, or no, Missouri.
Yeah.
And then it was about like 9 o'clock at night because he thought we were like under the impression that we were going to get a hotel.
He told me we were going to get a hotel.
But I was kind of scared to leave the boxes on the trailer, you know.
Yeah.
And so about 9 o'clock, I'm like, "Hey, we're driving through tonight." And so we drove through, and it was like 9 o'clock, like we're ready for bed. We drove through the night, and 27 hours later, we're done. Like we don't even have we can't even talk anymore. We're tired of driving. You know, we're tired. John's at the shop, like, "Let's go."
Yeah.
You know?
These guys drive in at the shop, and I think, like, man, they've had a night of sleep, you know,
Yeah.
and their like eyes are this big. And Luis was driving, and that was the first time I meet him. And we start unloading, and they're like, "Yeah, we just drove straight through." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
That was a Sunday afternoon. Yeah. And y'all came to work on Monday.
I came to Monday.
Yeah, their boss made them come to work on Monday. Imagine that.
And we're 13 days.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that, yes, you hadn't met in person, but John is good and he puts out a lot of content, right? And John doesn't just put out stuff. John's not necessarily going fishing, okay? John gives. John puts out content that helps people. Okay. Anybody that listens to the content and takes action on it will get benefit from it. And John just puts stuff out there. So though you may not have met him, 2 years of watching what this dude over here on the side of you has been putting out should give anybody a pretty good idea as to what he's about, right? So it's not as much as it's not necessarily a crapshoot that you're hoping to hit the right dice. You know what he's about, but it's a lot of courage, man, to just pick up and go based on somebody's say so. I want to get to a couple of comments here. Let's see here. Roger Gutierrez, another one of our Fixed Ops buds. Change the people or change the people. It's not easy, but it's necessary. 100%. And Roger Conant says it's all about relationships. Could not agree more. Robert Allen Carvel, the pay plan you offer is the best in the business. You know what I love about John is that John comes up with things, pay plans and all, that benefit his people, to provide an opportunity for them. Okay, he's not looking to pay you just to show up and sit there. Okay, but if you execute on the opportunity that he puts forth, you'll be a happy guy, because he thinks about others first, which is one of the many things that endears me to this guy. He's like my brother, this guy. Miguel Seda just took over a shop that is completely against innovation, zero accountability. That shop's not alone. Third day in the shop, I caught a guy smoking in the shop on a daily. I'm told to get the hell out of the shop. You'll be gone by January. Little do they know how relentless I am. I don't know if I'm connected to you, Miguel, but if not, we are definitely going to get connected after this show, because that's the kind of mindset that I love. And Pete Perez, question for John. When managing multiple centers, do you try to standardize processes and culture across all centers? Do you have a different process in turnaround situation?
I mean, there's a lot of processes that are very similar, in the fixed ops world. There's certain things that are just the same no matter where. But in a turnaround situation, I just try to fast track everything. I mean, I want to get those processes in place as quick as I can. With that, one of the things like in this store that we're working at is I just get on the ground, and rather than telling people what the processes are or outlining what the processes are, I show them what the processes are, So, and I live it out for some time so they can see it, because I'm not going to ask anyone to do something that I myself wouldn't do or couldn't do. But I do try to standardize it across. I want the customers greeted in the same way. I want, RO documentation to be done in the same way. I want the multi-point inspections to be detailed in the same way. So I try to standardize it across, and then we have to consider the little nuances of different OEMs, the specific policies that we have to adhere to from there. But yeah, good question.
The basics of running a service operation are pretty much the same across the board. There are certain processes that you need to do, but to those particular stores where you have a little bit more challenge, we'll say, there you need to put a little bit more elbow grease in it to get them to see the light in the right direction. And Nathan Williams, what's going on? Am I going to have to watch this on YouTube again? I think he's having some LinkedIn episodes. So if you're having any issue watching this on YouTube, it is the White Tablecloth channel. On Facebook, it is Dealer Vendor Match on Facebook. So if you're having any issue, if you're making comments that we don't see, it's because of the platform. So I do apologize. And we have with us here Vernon Longhorn Davis. Great message tonight. Thank you, Vernon. Love you, brother. And Nathan says there's a term for that: consistency. Consistency. Imagine that. Consistency, John.
Yeah, that's the only consistency in this business seems to be inconsistency at times.
Yeah.
And this store was lacking that very much so. In the drive, in the shop, and had it not been for these two guys showing up, I mean, I know my way around the car, but these two guys can bring it to life in the shop. I can bring things to life on the service drive. If it was left up to me to fix the cars, we would be in trouble. So,
hey, Dirty Harry, you ever see Dirty Harry? Clint Eastwood back in the day. Watch the movie sometime. And one of my favorite lines in that movie is, man's got to know his limitations.
That's one for me. Yeah, that's definitely a limitation.
Yeah, definitely a limitation. So when you walk into a store, sometimes it's like walking into a hornet's nest. Okay, there's a lot of stores one walks into where it's almost like you're set up for failure because you're the guy that shows up and all of this stuff has been going sideways. You know, oftentimes you walk in and you find the open RO list is something to behold, right? There's monies there, lots of monies, but yet there's cars not on the lot. Now you have to make the difficult decision to close all those ROs. You've got to come to terms with what the situation is. You've got to start over, but then that opens up another fire fury of closed ROs trigger surveys. And now surveys go out to customers that God only knows when they were last on the premises. And they're not always kind. So now you get a double whammy. You're the new guy in town. You show up, you're closing out the old, and now you get beat with a barrage of bad surveys and CSI, and you start to question, not you, because you've been through this before, but sometimes someone not familiar with the mechanics of change like this, they're like, whoa, what the hell did we just do here? New guy comes in, we just get clobbered with CSI, not realizing that, hey, that's a byproduct of what you need to do to get healthy again, right?
That's a conversation that has to happen with your dealer or your GM right in the beginning. They've got to know what they're getting into, and they've got to be ready for it, and they've got to support you. I see a lot of guys fail in these transformations because a lot of guys on the front side, GMs and dealers alike, they came up through sales, or daddy had a dealership or whatever, and they got just dropped into it.
PhD.
Yeah, Papa had a dealership. Yeah. And they don't have an understanding of how the back works. And, CSI surveys are such a delayed reflection of services that were rendered previously, like when you close an RO that triggers a survey or what have you. So your dealers just got to be ready for it. And thankfully, we work for a dealer that gets it on the front and on the back side, understands the numbers, and knew what we were getting into. To some degree, I dug some skeletons up that he didn't know were there, and we all were shocked by it. But more importantly, he supported the change all the way through, and that's what it takes.
That's a scary move because the dealer doesn't always know exactly what that initial dollar amount is until you uncover it. So that's the first shocker. And then the second wave of the shocker comes, it's not just a survey, but there's a lot of money that is tied to these surveys. So now you learn that you just lost X amount of dollars, and now you're faced with the additional dilemma of you're not going to hit your CSI numbers. You're not going to hit any of the the KPIs that you need to hit in order to recapture some of the monies that you put out there. And this can get into a lot of money. So those conversations to have with the dealer before you even step foot on the building or in the building, those are crucial to see exactly where you are, because not everybody's prepared to weather the storm, because as you said, most come up through the front end. They don't always have the same understanding as to what's happening in the back. I got a couple of comments that came in here. Freddie Trujillo says, when taking the reins of a failing business, you have to have the ugly conversations. You have to close the chapter on the past, close those ROs. And those are eye-opening. Sometimes those numbers are in the multiple figures, way beyond what people expect. So yeah, it's a tough one right there. And Pete Perez says, I have found that turnaround situations are 1 year minimum on the size of the operation. Kudos to you, man, because there's a lot of dealers out there that subscribe to the 90-day wonder school of thought, and nothing happens in 90 days. you uncover some of the issue within the first 90 days for sure. But to actually turn things around, affect change, and take it into a positive direction, that does take a while. It could be a year and a half. And Robert Allen Carvel says, Mopar Express Lane is the best way to maintain the best CSI scores for CDJR stores. Now, you've had a lot of experience with CDJR stores, John.
Yeah, that's been most of my career, and he's right. In any dealership, the quick, simple repairs, recalls, express lane, the stuff you can get in and out of the shop really quick is the best way to shift CSI. Because with CSI, I mean, you're just going to get it. You're going to get a bad survey here and there, but as the saying goes, the solution to pollution is dilution, and so those bad ones don't hurt as bad. Just get more of the good ones, yeah.
Nathan Williams, when people have to clean up a former manager's mess, it can take a long time. That's why we have to be organized with all of this. And I love the saying, this is not John's first rodeo. He's done this a few times. And when you thought that maybe you're going to call this dealer and say, I don't know about this, I know that call would never come, because that's not you. You've been down this road and you've tackled worse than this,
My favorite, I think, in my career was one time I was seeking out some stuff and cleaning up some things and reporting those things back to the dealer. And the GM and the fixed ops manager came to me on separate occasions and said, listen, there's just some things you don't need to tell the dealer. I knew right then that one was going to be a challenge, and I didn't succeed in that one. So
no, but you did, because everything is a learning experience. There is no bad, right? There's only this much really bad, John, that you'll find in your life. And when you experience those few things, it's still win-win, because going forward, that's one less really bad thing in front of you. So I want to shift gears a little bit, starting with Luis. You've been in this business, as well as Ryker, for a relatively short period of time. What did you do before you got into automotive? And what was it about automotive that said to you, hey, I got to get into this automotive gig?
Well, I've been in the States for around, I think 15 years. And my first job was at Wendy's. And I love working at Wendy's. I thought I was going to retire there. And eventually I was going to become a GM.
Yeah.
In 4 years being there. And I thought, that's pretty cool. That's probably going to be my life right here, Where we live in Arizona, it's called Casa Grande. And there was only one Wendy's. And I wanted that store, because I live 10 minutes away from there. So all you have to drive for an hour to go to a store in Phoenix. And I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. It makes no sense. So I told my supervisor, is I'm just gonna have to quit. And he's like, oh, you won't quit? It's like, yes, I will. I cannot just be doing the driving. So sure enough, he promoted me and I quit, because he sent me to Phoenix. So then I was like, okay, so what am I gonna do now? I was like, I don't want to work for McDonald's, because it's a competition. So I ended up going to make phone plates in a factory up in Eloy. And kind of the same thing happened to me. I'm one of those people that whatever I'm doing, I kind of want to be the best at it, because when you are the best, then you can start helping other people, you see what's wrong and what's right. And usually doing the wrong thing is the easiest thing to do.
Right.
But when you're good at it and you can make how can I say it? When you can show somebody you can do the right thing and do it efficiently, and then they see that side and they say, well, it's like, okay, maybe you can actually do it the right way instead of doing it the wrong way. Yeah. Same thing, my GM was like, hey, we're going to make you a floor foreman in the facility I'm sending to Texas this date. He never sent me, and I quit again. And they were calling me. I was like, no, I need somebody that's going to be honest and is going to have my back at the end of the day, And then after that, I went to, exactly. That's why I'm here, Then I went to Avid, make some formula for babies up in Casa Grande, same thing. And there was a lot of old timers there, people that have been there for like 10, 15, 20 years. In the land that I was working on, there was I guess there was a line that needed 3 people to work the line. If 1 people didn't show up, we had to close the line and go somewhere else. And I'm like, well, I can do it. Like, I don't need anybody else. Like, I can probably figure it out. And I was running the line by myself. The supervisor see me, the old timers stuck to him, and they fire me. As I asked him, was like, why are you firing me? He's like, it's like, you cannot just be running a line by yourself. It's just too much. And I'm like, okay, well, that's perfect. Then I was selling insurance for State Farm. And then my old boss comes like, hey, what happened? How did you get fired from Avid? It's like, I don't know, man. At least I was working too much and, it wasn't right. It's like, it makes no sense. Come back. It's like, no, I won't come back for a place that are not going to treat me right. So I was selling insurance for a State Farm, and I liked it. I was actually decent at it, and I was insuring houses, cars, businesses, and, I thought it was going to be something that I was going to be doing for a long time. My wife was working as a medical assistant, and we decided to have a bigger family. And I was like, well, I need to make more money. And somehow I decided I was going to go into a dealership and make a whole bunch of money. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I quit my job. I went to Dodge in Casa Grande, and I really liked it. I never ranched before. It was like a new thing, but I was very good at it. And I was like, well, maybe I do have something here, After a year or two, my mentor is like, well, after 6 months, he's like, you're ready to go on the line. But my supervisor didn't want to move me up. He's like, no, you're not ready. And I was like, I'm going to stick it up. I'm going to have my first baby. And Ryker's, he's kind of like me, but he's a little younger. He's very wild. He was on the line, I think, for like a month or two. And he's like, I'm ready to go to the move to the big leagues. I'm going to go to Phoenix, and work over there. And I was like, well, I have to have my baby before I go. So he literally pulled up in a U-Haul, and, we loaded his stuff, and he left. I had my first baby, and then when my wife and my kids were fine, then I went down there too. And then after that, we just keep moving to find that perfect boss, or that boss that will actually is willing to make change. That person that's not scared of losing a few people, and willing to do the right thing. So we chased that dream for around 4 years, moving from dealership to dealership. And nobody wanted to give you an opportunity, because thankfully for him and me, we've been very blessed, and ranching, we can flex some hours, and usually that's what I want to keep you, because you're very good at that. They don't see above that. That's all they see is like, oh, he's gonna make me a whole bunch of money in the back end, so I need to keep them there. And every single store we went to, we create this culture, and everybody used to love it. Ours just to increase up the roof, and they say, oh, thank you, but that's all they wanted to do. They just a thank you, throw a little bit of pizza there, pizza here, and that's all you get. I mean, pizza's good, man. But like,
Pizza's not culture.
I get it, but like, everybody that we used to work with, eventually they become our family. People like us a lot. They like how we work. We like that we're willing to show them. Most people, they've been doing this for like 10, 15 years. They do not want to show you how to do their job. They're afraid you're going to take their job. And the way I see it is like, if I can show 5 more guys how to do my job is going to become easier, Right. And if I want to move up, I need those 5 guys that are going to be able to take care of what I do, that way I can move up. And unfortunately, nobody wants to do it, neither for him or me. And it's like, we want more. We want that person that's willing to go the extra mile. And when I hear about John, Ryker is like, hey, he's kind of crazy. Like, he thinks like us. He thinks like, like, you just have to go at it and find out what's going to happen, And Ryker and me have never been afraid of change and new stuff. And, we usually go in, and most places are broken, And like John says, it's like, he knows how to handle numbers and the drive.
Right.
But it takes, the people in the back to create this culture, this family. That way the whole shop can can produce and move forward, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what me and Ryker have always done. You know, we show up within a month or two, everything is, you know, great. And this is like, how did it happen? But we just have that winning attitude, you know. Like there's a lot of negatives in a dealership, and
Yeah.
people like to complain, people like to cry, and you just have to look, you know, beyond that. You have to like come in with a positive attitude and you straight to kill it, you know, every single day, and show them that it's doable. Like not everybody next to you is gonna be a bad guy, you know. Nobody's looking to stab you in the back, you know. Like they have to understand, like we are family, you know, and just grow together, you know, and try to help people move up, you know.
A couple of things that I take away from that, where that is that something are a couple of things that a lot of employers, I don't know if they're not equipped or they don't understand, but they don't recognize the value in people, right? I am a big believer, spending much of my time in hospitality, that hospitality is wicked, incredible training. Because no matter what the business is, the common denominator in any business are the customers or people that come into that business, whether it's walk-in traffic, whether it's phone traffic, whether it's internet traffic. And there is no better, there's no better place for customer experience training, in my opinion, than in hospitality. Right. So you're starting off in a great place. You're in a pressure cooker environment where stuff happens fast. And I'm not going to lie, I get a sweet spot for Wendy's. I get the chili with regularity. Okay. Chili.
It's good. It's good.
Give me 4 hot sauces and 3 ketchups. And that's my snack sometimes. Okay. More than I should. When I get off the plane at nighttime or in the afternoon in Hartford, there's a Wendy's right down the street, and I always go there. So that's number one. Number two is there's so many people afraid to bring up other people or to give them opportunities. If you're a people person, you should be able to size up within a relatively short period of time, who is that person that's standing in front of me, and based on what the conversation brings, should tell you so much about what the opportunity is. And the opportunity you provide for that person that's willing to do for you what you need done, right? Your story about them wanting to keep you in place is not an unfamiliar one, okay? There's a lot of people that they get into the express lane and, you know, how long am I going to stay here? And some stores don't really care. Nope. That's where I need you. That's where I need you. They don't want to bring them up. They're afraid to, right? And you know, you have the drive internally. Okay. That's such a strong characteristic, because a lot of people are not internally motivated. They're not even externally motivated. They just show up, but you see something greater beyond. Okay. And you take a tremendous amount of pride in what you do. Me, when I ran a shop, we're very much similar, which is why we get along so good. I'm the first guy to pick up the broom. The rest of the shop didn't want to keep the place clean. I want a clean shop. So guess what? In the beginning, I'm the one sweeping. I'm the one taking the trash out to the dumpster, the cardboard, the metal. But over time, everybody else starts to pitch in. I don't know if they feel bad that, hey, shit, look at this guy. He's the general manager of the store, and he's out there sweeping the parking lot. What's wrong with this picture? But guess what? After a while, they do it. So that is one hell of a story, man. I'm so glad that you guys got connected. And Ryker, I want to hear your story too, man.
Can I hit on something real quick?
Absolutely.
You were talking about recognizing the value, and Nathan made a mention of value over there in the comments as well. I think with these two guys, and ultimately what we're going to lead to with technicians in general, not so much a sense of value gets put on these guys, but a number gets put on them. They're worth this much to the operation, and because they're worth that, we leave them there. And I saw these guys' production, like their flag hours, you know, in as we were meeting and going through the process. And I've seen what they can do at my shop here in Louisville. And you're talking about $70,000, $80,000 a month of gross profit in parts and labor that each of these guys can produce. And because of that you get really good, you get really good at your job and you get really productive. Sometimes that traps guys and it gets them stuck in a position like, oh, we can't afford to put you anywhere else. And so, the transitions and the things that we're going to talk about here shortly, I want people to take away from that is like, you've got to, and the reason that I came to Louisville, you got to work for people that recognize, yes, your value, what you bring to the business, but also empower and trust you with an opportunity in your role, like to just get out of your way and let you work. And that's why I came here. And ultimately that's why these guys are here. So,
and that's a difficult decision for you, but you see the big picture. So many don't see the big picture. All they see is a number. This guy's X amount of dollars. That other guy's X amount of dollars. They don't see, as a shop foreman, you have the ability to bring up so many people because you want for them, it's a giving nature. You want for them the opportunity that was afforded to you. And you've been through a couple of places where you had to make a change on your own because they didn't recognize that. And here you are in a role where you have the opportunity to give back so much to other people. And to your point, hey, if I want to do better, I need to bring up these other people because together we will make this happen. Whereas too many stores like, I'm not doing that. No, because that's going to hurt me. They don't see big picture. You should always be training your replacement, always, because there's always opportunity. If you surround yourself with people that pull the rope in the same direction and you're helping them become better, it just opens up more opportunities for you. These opportunities that John has did not just come from John just being John and showing up, right? You helped a lot of people and you still help a lot of people that you haven't even met. That's the beauty of LinkedIn and some of these platforms that we leverage. You can affect change in so many people, and you're not going to meet a lot of them. But know this, you help people get better, because I've had people that I had no idea who they were, and all of a sudden you find out what something you did a year ago, 2 years ago meant to them, and you just find out completely by chance. Let me get a couple of comments, and then I want to hear Ryker's story. Let's see here. Miguel Seda says, unfortunately, too many managers hire from a perspective of cost and not from a value proposition. They don't see big picture, 100%. And Pete Perez says, excellent comment on hospitality. I encourage people to patronize a higher end establishment, food, clothing, furnishings, etc., and see how they handle the client interaction and experience. John, we've experienced some of those adventures, haven't we?
Yeah.
That Wagyu still is in the back of my head, man.
Great dining experience.
Nathan Williams, too many people want to keep as many people below them as possible for as long as possible instead of letting people advance, and people want to grow and eventually have lives too. And Robert Allen Carvel says, great coaching, Paul. This is what makes you the best. Wow. Thanks, Alan. But it's Robert, but it's not about me. It's about these guys. I am so inspired and I feel just so honored. I drove, how long did I drive? What did I say? Was it 1.5 hour drive, something like that?
Hour and a half. Yeah, it was an hour and a half.
I drove 3 hours to go see John and to meet Ryker and Luis. And we had a short time together, but you know what? I would do it all over anytime I'm in the area, because there is a value that you gain from this, right? Just seeing the energy in the shop and seeing how these guys interact with the customers that come in. I mean, that's worth beyond. That's that thing, #priceless, you're right, that you see on some posts sometimes. So really, yeah, you guys really inspire me. So Ryker, tell me your story, man. Thank you, Luis.
So I graduated high school in Montana, and I was kind of wondering what the heck I was going to do. I was working at like a little local detail shop, and there was a bunch of mechanics like half a mile down the road for the same company. They all had nice trucks and campers and this and that, and I was like, I didn't really like school, so I was like, I'm gonna do what they do. It looks like they're living good. So I spent about a year in Montana just changing oil, doing tires, running a tow truck, whatever they asked me to do, I was just doing, and eventually moved back home to Arizona to start at a dealership, the same one that he was at in Casa Grande. I started off in Lube Bay for like 6 or 7 months, and I was doing all my training because some real old guy down in the Chrysler shop, he was like, you do your training and you'll be valuable. So I was doing classes that were way out of my skill level. I was like in level 2 classes, like as a lube tech, and so like 6 or 7 months go by in lube, and I tell my boss, I need an apprenticeship, like I need to do something. So he sends me over to the Chevy side, which I really like Chevy, but I just wasn't interested in Chevy at the dealer level. And so I'm in an apprenticeship with the world, great tech. Really like them. Under a world class for like 2 months, and I was just like, this is cool. And I'd go tell my boss, I'm like, I need to go flat rate on the Dodge side. So like 2 months into my apprenticeship, I'm like, I'm gonna go flat rate on the Dodge side.
2 months.
I did like 3 recalls, and I thought I knew how to be a flat rate tech. So I was like, yeah, I'm ready. I know a little bit of the paperwork. My training says I'm good. Let's make it happen. Then so I go over there. Luckily, he took a liking to me, so he helped me get out of some jams. I think my first day or second day on the line, he's in training, and the service writer comes up to me and says, hey, you need to do camshafts and lifters on this Charger. And I was like, oh, no, like, that's absolutely not. Like, that's not what I do. I'm not. This is my second day on the line, man. And he's like, no, Luis said you could. Like, it'll be fine. So here I am, day 2, like, and got it done just because he was like, go make it happen, And so spent like 3 months, probably like a little bit down there. And it's a smaller dealer. It's not very big, popping, That's when I sent it to the Valley. I went up to Phoenix and got a job down there. And I'm still so fresh, but I was just ready to go. Started like as a drivability, trim, electrical kind of guy, and came in. And then all 3 of the diesel heavy line transmission guys retired in a sense. They went to go do stock market things. And so I was like, all right, I'll go take their jobs. So then they sent me over there to the diesel department, transmissions and heavy line. And I was just killing it, learning it. And like, luckily I had him, because I would, instead of like asking before I messed it up, I would get in a crazy situation, bolts broken, this, that. Like, I don't know what happened, Luis, but we need to get out of this, man.
I'm like, that's on you,
He's like, did you strip the bolt? No, it wasn't me. And luckily, like, that's how it's always been in our shops. As far as like, when I got in that shop, everyone had worked in the same building together, no new guys, for like 15, 20 years. Wow. They hated me. It's 4 months in, 5 months in, we're all best friends. They love us, like, and that's kind of like the culture we try to bring, where everyone can help everyone. And then once I got real good at diesels, so I worked at a couple other shops in the Valley. I was doing 200 flag hours a pay period, and I loved it. I was having fun. I really loved fixing cars, but I really wanted more. Like, I wanted a chance in being a foreman. I think at my one dealer, I think I did 3 or 4 apprentices, and I was like really trying to train my replacements and move up. And it was just, but I was never looked at more than a 200-hour tech. Like, right. No, you just go back there, you train guys, you just do 200 hours over there. Like, that's what it's going to be, And so then that's when I kind of like did it for 3 or 4 years. And don't get me wrong, I was killing it. I was having fun, but I really, really seeked more, because like, obviously to go to lube tech to apprentice to mainline so quick. And I was just jump diesel tech in 2 or 3 years. I like to move fast, I like to learn it, make things happen. And then that's really where it came together. I was like, dude, John's just doing crazy things. I always see him on LinkedIn. Oh yeah, we'll pay you all data time on warranty. I'm like, no, you're not gonna pay me. And I'm like, all these crazy things.
Makes a difference.
It does. And just like his energy for the technicians, and as far as like and his genuine interest in like growing me and growing Luis. And I was like, it was because I mean, he's seen the flag sheets. He can easily say, no, you guys need to go wrench and go kill it, but he sees, but like, how about they just train 8 guys and keep building the culture, and then we'll be happy,
Yeah.
So that's kind of what got me to Louisville. Never did I think I'd be in Louisville, but here we are.
Well, John's a big picture thinker. He and I have had so many conversations about just this subject, to see big picture, to recognize that, you know what, if you're a 200 guy and he brings you on to help him lead that team, then it's not inconceivable that you will cultivate a group of 200 guys, right? 200-hour guys. That's the big picture stuff. But you have to take that risk, if you will, internally. And you're right, some dealers may say you're crazy. Why would you, for them it's wasted talent. But no, because they don't fully understand it. Because if you can build a team, and it sounds like you guys, for one, are very good friends, so you have each other's backs, you support each other, and you move with each other. I mean, I just think that's beautiful. You don't see a lot of that. And I think Nathan made a comment here earlier. Let's see here. Sounds like this could make a great movie along the lines of The Pursuit of Happiness.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
And he's right. He's right. And
Well,
if this goes to screenplay, insist that you guys play yourselves. Don't let anybody else play you.
Well, and just so everybody knows, like the condition of this place when these guys got here, I mean, we were telling customers, hey, you're going to drop your car off and you might not hear from us for 3 weeks. We might get to it. We may not get to it. Who knows? And mind you, I had 8 technicians in the shop, but
bodies.
I had bodies,
warm bodies,
had some warm bodies, and many of those guys left during that process. And these guys come in, and I was carrying over 90, 95 cars a day. I just had a stack of work, and inside of 2 weeks, I mean, Luis and Ryker they came in, another technician started the next week. We hired an apprentice, an oil changer. I mean, all in the month of August, we went from, 3 technicians down to 1 remaining or 2 remaining. And then it ballooned back up to 9 guys. I mean, it was in that month. And inside of a couple of weeks, by the end of August, we had made it through the backlog. We had got everything caught up, got a process in place in the shop.
2 weeks.
Then we started teaching people. Yeah.
2 weeks.
And it was a tough backlog. It wasn't tough. It
Yeah.
wasn't just like, oh yeah, I radiated this. It was work that people did not want to work on, or they weren't skilled enough to fix.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was like, here's 35 cars that aren't touched, and they're all
Just a mess.
problematic.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then these guys start taking so one of our apprentices, well, actually he started as changing oil 2 months ago, and now the other day, last week, he pulled a transmission out of a ProMaster and put it back in by himself.
How long was he? How long has he been working on cars?
He's been with us. He started at the end of August, huh? Yeah. So not even 3 months yet.
He was a lube tech for like a week, and I was like, yeah, you need to come be my apprentice. Let's get it going, buddy. Like just
wow.
And so
possible. That's what possible.
Yeah.
If you believe and you put the effort in and you bring in the people that support your mission, nothing is impossible.
Well, and to that point, our dealer believes so. Our dealer is Adrian, and Adrian believes in everything that's happening, and he's a guy himself who has quite the success story. And I went to him, how long ago was it? Like probably a month, 3 weeks ago or so. 3 weeks ago, and we're moving at a pretty fast pace. we've got some success under our belt. We've created a team and a culture, and I just told Adrian, is like, listen, I need to step out of this store and pay attention to the other stores, but I need to have people to help support. And, instead of these two guys just being the guys that just wrench all the time and the horses that turn the hours, Adrian allowed me to move Ryker to my service director. So we promoted Ryker to service director and Luis to shop foreman. And now who knows what's going to happen? We hired another apprentice this past week. We have another technician starting this week. We got a couple of guys we're going to fly in a month or so and see what they think of the place. It's going to be crazy. We're going to really put the place on the map.
Just a phenomenal story, John. I value our friendship, and I've seen you go through some pretty dark storms and come out the other side even stronger than when you went in. So I'm extremely proud of you. And I got a couple of comments here. Nathan Williams says, if people can see the big picture, then people can and companies will flourish. He says, like we always say, take care of our workers and they will take care of our customers, and you will build a successful business. What a way to close it out. Any final thoughts before we shut it down for tonight? The hour just comes and goes so fast.
I think what we're going through, for me, brings that saying to life that if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And I know that we're going to go far as a team with us three and the team that we're building there. So that's what comes to mind for me.
Excellent. Luis, Ryker?
Very good. We're glad to meet John and change people's lives, because for us, it is a must. Like, if we're gonna be doing good, we want the people next to us to do better than what they're doing. So John has given us the opportunity to change other people's lives, and that's what we're here for, to help everybody around us.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Miguel Seda says, glad you joined the auto business and not the oil rigs, LOL, to the guy from Montana. And John Nathan Williams, by the way, that's how Sylvester Stallone got famous when he wrote Rocky. That was the reference. That's why I said, don't let anybody play your parts in this. When the screenplay hits the big screen, don't let anybody play your parts. You guys do it, because that is how Rocky got his start. He would not take no for an answer. And Robert Allen Carvel says, John has success wherever he is at because it comes from inside. It comes from right there, inside of his head, his heart. And these two guys that are fortunate to have met up and joined forces together, the sky's the limit. So stay on as we go off here for just a couple minutes. To those that watch it live weekly, thank you. And those that watch it on the replay, I thank you. If you see value in what we discussed here tonight, by all means, share it with your network. If we are not connected, and it is in both our interests to be connected, by all means, send us a connection request. Happy to do so. So with that, I wish you all a safe and successful next week, and we'll see you next week on Sunday Night Live. Thanks for watching.